welcome to Ring Talk, episode 41 of the weekly Goodwin boxing show with myself, Martin Theobald, and an unwell Steve Goodwin.
So unwell, struggling.
Yeah, so if we get coughing spluttering halfway through, can't be bothered to edit it, so deal with it. But hopefully the sound quality is better this week. I think it struggled a little bit off my phone recording, so apologies for last week. We've been away, had a holiday, come back ill.
Yeah, unfortunately, struggling.
Excellent.
Struggling, but we've got to get through to Saturday somehow.
So you've got this Saturday coming, which big show with Wadi, Camacho, Arfan, Iqbal, Commonwealth Cruiserweight title topping it. Ryan Walker versus Michael Ramabaletsa for the English super bantamweight.
There's some exciting fights underneath, to be honest. I think we've got a kid from Albania fighting called Xhulju Vrenozi.
Right,
he's a Don Charles protege. Okay, and he's fighting Willie Warburton, and they've got high hopes for him.
This is his first fight.
No, he's had 11 in. He's had 11 fights in Italy, and he's now training out at the Punch London gym.
Okay. So
they're quite keen on him. So he's fighting on the undercard against Willie Waters. That's going to be quite interesting. Gharib returns. Yep. He's always
drunken
different.
Master.
Yeah, he's fighting Dean Evans now. Good thing about that fight is Dean Evans is he's a come forward fighter. Yeah. So hopefully Mo's going to actually have to get rather than somebody who's backing off him, so he can do all that stuff. Dean Evans will come for him if he does that. So this hopefully will teach him a lot. This fight. That's why we selected Dean Evans.
I spoke with Mo not too long back. It was after his last fight, and I posed the question. Does it bother you that, for me, I don't enjoy watching it? And I told him that it's nothing new to Mo. Like, I don't enjoy watching you beat the archetypal journeyman that you expected to be and mucking about and not knocking them out. Yeah. Like, to me, it has to be, if you're mucking about, or not mucking about, but if you're showing off and showboating, then you need to be knocking that person out, or else it kind of it outweighs itself.
That's fair.
And I said that to him, so it won't be anything new. But he said that's fair enough. He took it on board as what I said. Not that it makes any difference to his life, but he was then, he's come out saying, "Oh, you're going to see a different side to me this time. I might still do the showboating, but look, I can be a vicious fighter."
But he won't have as much time to do the showboating now. So that's why we picked. We didn't want, when I spoke to his trainer daily prior, we didn't want somebody who was just going to back off. We wanted somebody who was going to come and have a go, and Dean Evans does, as we know. Yeah. So it's a great fight.
And irrespective of that as well, it gets people talking. Whether you like it or don't like it, it gets people talking about Mo Gharib, and that's what he wants, so fair play to him for that.
Brandon Balls, 3-0, he has his fourth fight. He's taking on quite a tough Latvian called Kraulis, who's 1-2 from 5. He's a definite competitor, so it's actually his toughest fight. James Costanzo, he's opening the show. A Tony Pill fighter.
Yeah, the ginger lad, isn't he? Yeah, he always looks in tip-top condition. James.
So he's opening the show, like middleweight. Chris Lawrence has his first fight since signing with us. He's taking on that Dimitri Costanzo, who fought Yusuf Kamari on the Ultimate Boxer. He's actually a lot better than his record suggests, but unfortunately, Chris's original opponent pulled out. But Costanzo is tough, but I'm hopeful Chris will overcome that. Martin Foru is back in the ring.
Martin, he was fantastic on his debut.
He's fighting Raymond Snieds, who tough man. He's been around the block, so he's going to obviously give it a go. But Martin's a great talent.
Are you hoping in that scenario that it goes, because his first fight he stopped him in a round, didn't he? Are you hoping as his manager and with the matchmaking things to take it further than one round?
Definitely. This time? Because it's hard to match him after that. Yeah. So therefore, we'd want to see him do some rounds.
Yeah, exactly.
But if he gets rid of him, he gets rid of him. It just shows, But ideally, I'd like to watch him over a few more rounds. But we'll see how it goes. A fight that I really love watching, Dillon. I think everybody likes watching Dillon.
Square, he's so tough looking.
And he's fighting Michael Holloway, who's actually a real tough man. That's really going to be a really entertaining fight. So that's on through the night. Paul Greenidge returns.
I like Paul.
He's coming, he's back with Terry Stewart, so he makes a return to the ring. And he's fighting Pucci, which Pucci's always entertaining.
The best tash in boxing. Yeah, maybe bar.
But Pucci is Pucci's a tough man that gives them all a thing. And Paul's developing. He had a few injuries, and now it's his second fight back after a long break. So looking forward to see Paul. We've already spoke about Xhulju, which is so if you're there at York, make sure you watch him. there are two Alec Wilkie fighters fighting, Hassan Ali and ID Hill. ID Hill fights...
he was only fighting a month or so back, wasn't he? Ideal?
Yeah, in for a while, but he's fighting again. He's now fighting one of my journeymen, a guy called Reece Smith, who's 3-2. Good thing about that fight is Reece doesn't consider himself a journeyman. He's coming to win, so I'm not... When I use the word journeyman, he's not a journeyman that you would expect to. He's going to come and have a go with ID. But ID's obviously looking towards the Southern Area title, so he needs... Alec Wilkie told me he's been turned down for the Southern Area, is considered not good enough, which is a separate thing.
He just fought Sanjeev Sahota for it under 12.
No, it wasn't Southern Area though, was it? It was a 10 round. Was it a 10-round challenge?
No, maybe it was an eliminator.
Eliminator, I think it was. But they turned him down, even as a final eliminator.
But he was unlucky in that fight. He's good enough for it, in my opinion. Well,
we were going to do Curtis Felix, ID Hill, as a final eliminator for the Southern Area, 7-0 against ID Hill, that was rejected by the board.
Yeah.
And they've gone to Alec Wilkie and said he needs to get more on his resume, so it's ID. So that's why he's fighting again.
I love watching ID Hill, and it's in a disrespect to ID, but he seems to fight up or down to the standard that's in the other corner. So when he fought Sanjeev Sahota, who's a good fighter,
what's that fight?
I thought personally ID won that.
So did I.
But I've seen him fight journeyman and turn it into a war. And it just seems like he just wants to get into a fight with anyone. He's fantastic to watch, like heart of a lion kind of guy. He's fun in the ring. Like as a neutral fan, it's great.
Yeah. And then we've got a fight that we're just trying to get the medical papers cleared in time from somebody from board. Says touch a guy called Catalan Paraschivo, who's the Italian, again out of Punch London, and he's 17, 18 and 1. He's won. He's won some good titles, but there's problems with him getting his paperwork in, so it's touch and go whether he fights. But if he does get the paperwork in, he'll be fine as well. But
what's with the influx of overseas fighters to Punch London? Because it's Tony Pill, isn't it?
Tony Pill's got a massive Italian connection.
Has he?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay.
And they also, if you look at, I've just signed another young Italian fighter from the gym as well. So he seems to attract the Italians, and we've signed a couple of them. There's a few that are going to debut in March, and now he's getting the other Italians coming through as well.
Ah, good on him.
And Albanians as well. So they're all coming. Punch London has got the potential to be like the TKO used to be.
Yeah.
Without a doubt, that could easily, they've got some brilliant trainers in there, so that could easily develop into a really...
Yeah, you've got Josh Burnham in there too,
Tony Pill,
as well as Tony.
And Ian Doobly helps them out, and
the main man Don.
It's a great gym, and they're definitely making good strides, and there's new boxers coming all the time.
Yeah, and then the top of the card, we kind of skipped over it, but
Michael against Lion. Lion is the young, hungry Lion. Michael's the man that's been there, seen there, done it. I think it's going to be a great fight.
Yeah.
I think it's a fantastic fight. Obviously,
you're going to predict Michael.
I think Michael wins, and I think Ryan then comes again after this and goes and wins title, Southern Area, and then come back for an English. I think it's probably a little fraction too early for Ryan, and I think, but for Michael, he's got to be winning this and he wants to go on to bigger things. So
I'm in two minds over this. I might even go anti-Goodwin on this and pick a Ryan Walker for win because. I think Michael will take him to some dark places in that fight, and I think that will test Ryan beyond belief. I was listening to him a while back on the Fight Talk podcast, and his mindset was very much around he'd rather lose on points than lose getting knocked out, I think he said, which bothered me a bit. Like, you don't want to go to those dark places. I think Michael has every capability of taking you to. But I just think younger... I'm not going to say hungrier, because I don't think anyone's probably hungrier than Michael at this stage to pick up a major belt. But I don't know. But
it's a great fight.
For whatever reason, I'm going to err on the side of Ryan Walker, but that's not with any bias.
But that's what makes it a good fight, because that's what makes boxing good, is when you have if everybody's thinking the same person's going to win these big fights, then it becomes a boring fight.
Yeah.
It's when you have a difference of opinion and people think differently, then that's what makes it such a great fight. And then you've got the Wadi Arfan fight, which is a fantastic top of the bill. So
rematches, you would typically say, go the same way as the first one.
Traditionally that's what happens, but obviously Arfan has coming off a disappointing performance.
The draw with
Simon Villali, and Wadi's coming off probably a career best performance. So it's a very tough fight, but I do know that Arfan has been away in Portugal training hard. Wadi has really got himself in super shape with Terry Coulter. It's a great fight for Wadi. you know, if anybody had said when he left Peter Sims, when they thought he was going to retire, that he would fight for English and Commonwealth titles and be the record-breaking Southern Area champion, now I think we've done a really good job with him since. And you know, he's got the opportunities now, moving on to bigger things. The winner of this fight's got to be in line for a British title shot next year, without a shadow of a doubt.
So what's on the line on this one on Saturday?
The Commonwealth.
But it's not for the English of Arfan.
No, so if Arfan wins, he will obviously have to relinquish the English. Right. If Arfan doesn't beat Wadi, then he keeps the English title. That's the rules of it.
Yeah.
And then we've got the Dillon Jr. Aussie Jergo cruiserweight fight coming through as well. So there's plenty going on in the cruiserweight division.
It's an interesting fight because I think it's overlooked through his career how good a boxer Wadi is, because sometimes he doesn't always show that. Sometimes he's happy to get into the scrap. You know, he's had controversies and all sorts through his career. But he's an ABA champion. He's a legitimate talent. And then you've got Arfan, who is just powerful, strong. I'm not going to say dirty, but you know what I mean, in that field of, like, he'll do what it needs to win. And if someone tries to rough him up, you've got no doubt that Arfan will rough them up twice as hard. And so, yeah, again, like, if Wadi can stick to his boxing and keep Arfan off him and take him into those later rounds, then you would give Wadi the advantage. But if Arfan can unload, and, you know, if he's been doing enough explosive stuff over in Portugal, then yeah, it could I'm not going to make a prediction on that one. I think
the best, whoever wins, is going to get a shot at the British title. When you're a Commonwealth champion, then you're going to get a shot at the British without a doubt. So at some point next year, so it puts them in a great position for a big money fight.
And would you want a Coley for either of those, the winner? Given what we've seen of a Coley, and given, I mean, I know it must be a hard one to balance out, because there's the Big Sky platform, presumably a decent payday out of it, against an incredibly awkward fighter who seems to get the rub of the green on the home shows. Or do you wait for Lawrence to...
That's something we'll look at after the fight. I think, you know, you can't beat the grab and hold. The grab and hold, if the refs are going to allow...
Especially when you've got those
If somebody's going to allow a boxer to hit grab hold, it's very difficult for any fighter to win. And if the referees are not going to be more... either Lawrence has to... I mean, I think he's talented, but either he's got to get over that. But it's the same thing. The Chamberlain fight was a very similar type of thing. It's effective. But it's not exactly ideal and good for the eye, is it? So
it's not good for the eye. It's not good for the opponent. It must be incredibly frustrating and hard. You can see it with Matty Askin, that just how pissed off you'd get constantly being in those clinches. But
it's something. I mean, I've been a fan of Lawrence and Coley, but obviously the last fight was absolutely shocking. And
I suspect with Lawrence, they've probably got to put the brakes on as well, because post-British, you've only got European and world, and he's not ready for that. So do you consolidate at British level, which could mean, you know, he's around there for a couple of years, which...
And maybe that's what he's got to do.
Yeah.
And he's got to try and learn how to fight when he gets hit, and not be so worried about the return punches.
But then conversely, if you've got referees that don't enforce anything other than carry on holding, then
that's the problem.
3 points off, but still win a fight.
He shouldn't be DQ. And the problem is, if every time he fights, you're going to get that, allowing that to happen. It's going to be hard for anybody to beat him.
So moving on then from this Saturday, you've also got next Saturday as well, haven't you? Which
going off to Monaco next Thursday with Frank Buglioni to Monaco. So looking forward to that.
He's fighting Meng.
Fan Long Meng. He's a Rock Nation fighter, so they hold him in high regard.
Oh, Jay-Z. Is he going to be there?
Who knows?
Might be mingling.
Yeah, so he's Rock Nation fighter, but he's not proven yet. And Frank's always done well against Southpaw, so we'll see how he performs. But we're confident he's going to put up a big show.
Yeah, and there's also the show back home as well, which...
Yeah, the 24th, which is an interesting... It's the baby show of the three, as I said before. I don't want my fighters in title fights if I'm not there. Ideally.
So it's developing.
It's a developing show. The top of the bill's a good fight though. Sam Gilly takes on Ryan Toms, who's just come off knocking out Fred Evans in Wales. It's a great top of the bill.
The Olympian Fred Evans.
It's a great top of the bill though. It's a really good fight though.
Ryan Toms has got some decent names on his record as well.
Sam Gilly's up and coming, but that's not a one-way fight. No. Ryan's coming. So I think it's a brilliant fight that is. So it's a really good top of the bill.
Yeah, but tickets still available for both?
Yeah, tickets still available for limited amounts, but yes, tickets still available. We pretty much sold out this weekend, but then we've had a couple of pull-offs in the last week, so some tickets have come back. But yeah, it's going to be pretty busy in there this week.
Okay, so we're not going to look at new signings, but instead renewed signings,
which is more important.
Yeah, I mean, if you get that loyalty out of somebody that...
So we've got 3 re-signings to announce. So these are boxers that I've looked after for 3 years, and at the end of the 3 years, they've then decided they want to go on another 3 years with me, and I think that's the ultimate compliment.
And they're free at that point to go anywhere else.
And I always say that to them. There's never any pressure with me. I say to them, if you feel that somebody else can do a better job for you, then you're welcome to go. But vast majority of boxers feel that we do a good job. So the 3 that have re-signed, and there's a 4th that we were going to hope to do, but I will announce that next week. The 3 that have re-signed are Cruiserweight Mark Little, who's 9-0, looking to go 10-0 on the 1st.
Question about Mark later, don't worry, I'll come to that.
Adrian Martin, again 9-0, looking to go 10-0 on the 1st of December. And K Prospere, who is now in line for an English title shot. So they are the 3 that have renewed.
And the 4th one is an exciting one to renew as well, but you need to just tie up the
paperwork.
Yeah.
We'll talk more about that next week and what our aspirations are for that. So those
we haven't forgot about you, don't we?
No, we haven't. And also, I met with Rakeem Noble at the O2 last week.
He looks in fantastic shape for a man who's been off around Japan doing his travelling projects, which are so well documented, the way he's done it and the stuff he was doing on his Japan project. And Rakeem's just the nicest dude going.
He's coming back in March.
Is he? I saw he was sparring Hannah Rankin ahead of her world title shot this weekend. Good luck, Hannah, if you happen to see this.
Absolutely.
Fighting Clarissa Shields out in Kansas. Massive fight, massive opportunity. Good luck. But yeah, Rakeem, so he's coming back.
Back in March.
So he left on the back of the K Prospere win?
No, he left on the back of, he lost to Tommy Coyle.
Oh, crikey.
And then he had a comeback win.
Yeah.
Done that, and then he left on the back of a stoppage win at your call.
Yeah.
Now he just wants to. I don't think he's messing about. He wants to go straight back in.
Oh right.
No warm-ups, straight into top. He said that he doesn't need warm-ups. He'll get it all done in the sparring. He'll straight back in. He wants to do 10 rounds in March.
But he looks in great shape still. Like, he hasn't lost any of the physicality that he used that physicality to beat K Prospere for his son.
I mean, that was at the end of the day, I think that was it showed how good Rakeem is, and it showed K what he needs to do. And I think K I think K's improved since then, and I think Rakeem, you've got to remember in that Tommy Cole fight, he busted Tommy Cole's eye socket in round 1.
Yeah.
He left his chin in the air. If he hadn't left his chin in the air, Tommy Cole was in trouble in that fight.
Yeah.
And the whole Tommy Cole story might not be what it is today. Seriously. If Rakeem had not left his chin in the air and got overconfident, he won the first round and was doing really well. So I think it's really exciting to have Rakeem back.
So go back to the other ones quickly. K Prospere, re-signed for 3 years, fantastic talent, reaching the years that he needs to be achieving now, isn't he? He's not a young man.
19 is his year. It's all got to be done next year.
Yeah, that's not his age, is it?
No.
But yeah, he's reaching that age where it's kind of all or nothing, isn't it? And he needs those opportunities. Has he got the English title? When's that?
Perspire's in tomorrow. Well, we're recording this Tuesday night. Perspire has to be in tomorrow. It'll be announced on Thursday night.
Okay, and that's against Ryan Rhodes up north.
Ryan Rhodes' fighter, Sam O'Maison up north. So if we have to go up north, we have to go up north. I'm not a fan, as you know, of taking fighters up north.
Darryl Williams
is another one of my examples of what happens when you take a fighter up north.
Felt for him that night.
And do you know what annoys me though? Seriously, when fighters come down south, generally, I don't feel southern fighters have that advantage. I think. Do you know what I'm trying to say? I don't want to get myself in trouble for saying it, but
I don't hold a license, so I can probably go into it a little bit further. There isn't a hometown bias towards a southern fighter that you may get up north in some situations. That would be my interpretation of it. But yeah, you'd hope, fingers crossed, you get.
How could you score 117, 113 for somebody who had a busted arm and couldn't throw a punch for so many rounds? I mean, Darryl Williams won that every day of the week. It was just how many he won by. It was the worst, probably one of the worst decisions I've ever seen.
Agreed.
But when you go up there, I'm afraid you've got to nail the opponent to the canvas.
You're running that risk.
Yeah.
And yeah, Adrian Martin, younger prospect.
Adrian Martin, we're guiding him towards titles. He's had a lot of trauma in his personal life over the last 12 or 18 months, and he's I think he's a lovely young man, and we're going to guide him towards the right fight at the right time, and we're getting there towards titles. And same with Mark Little. Mark Little, remember, he's moving really well. He's 9-0, but he didn't have amateur experience. So you've got to take that on board as a pro, that we need to be that much more careful, because if you had 30 amateurs or 20 amateurs and somebody had no amateurs, you've got to remember a 10-0 pro against an 8-0 pro who's had 30 amateurs. The 8-0 pro is more.
They've seen a lot more.
Seen a lot more. So we want to press the button, but he's got a brilliant coach in Paul Cook, and we're just going to work together and make sure we deliver the right opportunities at the right time for him.
Yeah. So we'll move on to the questions. I'll find the one that related to Mark and start with that. From Jason Bircher on Twitter. Plans for Mark Little next year? Southern area belt, ? English after, and then British. Not to get too far ahead of yourself, Jason.
You won't be doing that next year. And I would say that if we go for the Southern area and win that next year, and end the year as a strong Southern area champion, and then go on to the English after that, I think that's a realistic expectation for next year.
But there's an awful lot of traffic around that. You've still got the likes of Ozzy Jervie who's fighting for it.
Jose Lopez,
Danny Cousin,
Chris Smith of McGuigan, Richard Rickapoy, who I think he will probably class himself as move past that now.
What a frightening right hand on that bloke, by the way.
Yeah,
the way that he
hits hard.
I wasn't impressed by him.
He was losing the fight.
I wasn't impressed by him for 7 rounds or whatever, but if you've got that weapon of a right hand where you can always bust someone's face up, and Sam Hyde, what a tough man for staying in there. But
you got some cruiserweights. I mean, Robin Dupre, I think he's done now. I think
he seemed to have the
4 or 5 rounds, and 4 or 5 rounds he's out of there. So you've only got to go 4 or 5 rounds, and I think that's what happens. He gives it a go for 4 or 5. Conditioning probably a little bit lacking. Yeah. He's a nice guy, Robin, but probably lacks that little thing, that little bit to go to that next level.
There was an interview with him after the Chris Smith fight where he just seemed like done with the sport. That's how it seemed from the interview.
I thought he looked like in the ring he was like that.
Yeah.
The last payday maybe.
Yeah. So there's plenty of traffic to navigate around for Mark Little, isn't there? Not to say he can't do it, I'm just saying that it's not.
Don't forget Daniel Mendes, who's also going to be up in the line for titles next year. So there's a lot of cruiserweights out there. Some I manage, some I don't manage, but we'll navigate everybody through the division. That's the plan.
Yeah. Also, anything on Frank Buglioni? Well, we touched on the fact that next weekend he's in Monaco. Yeah. So I'll start back from the top. John Bailey, who would be on Steve's boxing New Year's honours list?
No one.
No one at all. Anthony Crolla. I'm going to put Anthony Crolla in.
Do you know what? Yeah, I'll go with that was a thing wrong, but I think Anthony Crolla is somebody that's. I think Ricky Burns as well, to be honest.
He beat Scott Cardle.
Yeah, but Ricky Burns has been through a traumatic time in his career.
It's true.
Remember, he got sued. He had a horrific time.
It's true.
And to bounce back and keep in love with the sport when you've had to go through what he's gone through, whatever the rights and wrongs of it, I don't want to cover the case on it. Yeah. But the fact he's still going and is still ambitious after what he's been through, I think all credit to Ricky Burns.
I think Anthony Crolla, he's not the most exciting fighter in the world, but the bloke just, you want to give him a cuddle. He just seems like such a nice bloke. I used him as an example the other day for something, that when you saw how Dave Allen was at the weekend after 4 rounds, he was blowing out of his arse, he was ill-conditioned, and it wasn't a great look.
Why doesn't he sort that out?
I think by the sounds of it he will be, but we'll see in future, because he said it before, to be fair. But then you see Anthony Crolla, who's gone 12 gruelling rounds with that Jordan. He's not the best fighter in the world, Crolla, by any means, but he's had that world title, and he gets to the end of the fight and he's all smiles and chatting and laughing with ring officials, MCs, the opponent's team.
I know he's a great guy.
And then you see, I don't know if you saw the photo, there was one that was put up of what his urine test was like.
Terrible, wasn't it?
Oh my god, it was just red. His urine was just red, and I think you've been punched to fuck for 12 rounds.
And he's still smiling, and then he's got urine. No, I think
there's something about it.
Crolla and Burns.
And Josh Warrington, I like Josh Warrington at the moment. I had a little insight into Josh Warrington, and
because I thought that question was we were talking about managers, promoters. I don't think any promoters or managers deserve any honours, but there's plenty of fighters. And I think Josh Warrington definitely deserves. I mean, again, he's come up from the small hall scene, and he's made it for himself, and he's apparently a really nice guy. I've never met him, so full credit to Josh Warrington as well. There's some good guys out there that and I like to see a boxer that tries to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And isn't stitching people up and running from one to the other and doing the wrong things. And I think those three that we've mentioned all seem to do the right thing.
Yeah, and you look at Warrington, he's been with Steve Wood from day dot, hasn't he? And he kept with him through the world title.
That's great, isn't it?
There aren't many that would be able to say that hand on heart.
Exactly, so full credit to him.
Paul Altai, which boxer from the past would you most like to have managed or promoted?
I think we've had this before. I think it's Dennis Andrews, Nigel Benn. That'd be the two. For different reasons. I'm not sure. I mean, Ben was supposed to have been a nightmare to deal with.
You kind of, I can see that, if I'm honest. But
so maybe he wouldn't have been great to have
in his heyday.
Yeah, maybe it'd have been difficult to deal with.
You had Chisora, I'm sure it's...
Yeah, I would say, I've got to say, I don't think anybody could beat Frank Buglioni to manage.
For ease, not for difficulty.
He's just the nicest guy, and I've been through him for the nicest guy you could deal with. So I wish him every success, and he's been an absolute pleasure. Not one moment of
no ego.
No ego. He just wants to do the right thing, the ultimate professional. So he's been the perfect. So I think if you offered me Nigel Benn in his heyday against Frank Buglioni today, I'd take Frank Buglioni today.
Yeah,
it's all been a total pleasure to look after.
I know the times I've messaged Frank about various things, and he's so polite, so quick, so respectful in everything that he comes back with. And I think not all people at your level are like you.
No.
That's
why he deserves every success. Yeah.
Boxing Luton, JP Smith. Hope you're well. About a year ago, we had 12 or 13 world champions in the UK boxing. With Bellew retiring, does every fighter who wins a world title become a great? Or does the presence of so many belts mean only those who are undisputed or different weight champions could be considered great?
I think somewhere in the middle. I think world titles have been cheapened now.
Yeah, of course.
So therefore, it doesn't, because you're world champion, it doesn't really, with all due respect to Terry Flanagan, he won a world title and defended it a few times. He can't be considered a great, can he?
Yeah, Liam Smith again is not being disrespectful because he won that world title, but defended it against Jimmy Kelly Jr., which, I mean, what was he doing in a world title fight?
So yeah, I think it's got to be who, what, how. So I don't think you have to be multiple weight, but I think. I don't think winning a world title. I think you can get fighters that are just barely above domestic level winning world titles now.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. And then you look at someone you mentioned earlier, Ricky Burns, 3-weight world champion, hard fights for those, and yet he gets less plaudits than certain other fighters. I'm not going to go and name names about it, but his achievements are under the radar.
Totally agree, and that's why I said he'd be the one that I think should be, if it was an honour for a boxer, he'd be top of my list.
Yeah. CM Sport on Twitter. Would you put on more local derbies between two boxers who are struggling with ticket sales?
But we do. When it's necessary, that's what we do.
Yeah.
So more, when you say more, we try and do it whenever that is the right thing to do. We did it with Curtis Felix and Justin Menzies at Tottenham, didn't we?
So it's an interesting model, because I was having this conversation with Tom at Sauerland. And it was around the model of it, and so how it works with a prospect coming through is that they pay for their opponent, don't they? So they sell the tickets, and part of that pays for the opponent, and part of it they take home. But if you put two people in that are at the same level in a local derby, you're not paying for your opponent, you're both just paying for yourself, so your money isn't as high that you're required to pay for.
But the issue is going to be is if you're going to do that at a relatively high level, then people like Sounds need to pay. They need to pay them enough money to make it worthwhile. Yeah. But when we've been asked to do, and this isn't Soundlands by the way, when we've been asked to put together local derbies before for televised events, they don't want to pay the boxers very much.
Right.
And not enough.
Are they still on ticket deals at that point? So we'll pay you $2,000, but then you've got
to sell X amount of tickets, and you're going to have the hardest fight of your life. We were offered Linus Udofia against Grant Dennis on the McGuigan card.
Yeah.
Wasn't enough money. Just wasn't enough money. Linus will earn more from the Taylor Jones fight than he will from Grant Dennis as technically the away fight on a McGregor show. The deal wasn't enough.
Yeah.
If the deal was the money was there, we think he'd win, but the money wasn't good enough. So if promoters on TV want to do it, they've got to do enough. If you're on small hall, you can make them at the lower levels. In other words, the levels that aren't at Linus's level, who can sell and pay and everything else. He doesn't need to take a 50-50 unless he's being well paid, or we think it's not 50-50.
Yeah. Speaking of that fight, a question from Anonymous. There are various rumours that Taylor Jones will pull out of the fight on December the 1st. What's your view?
Well, let's firstly start with, I've heard the same rumours. I've had 5 or 6 people ring me over the last month, and I can't mention names, from Essex, people from Essex saying he's pulling out, he's not going through with this fight. And I've been told that at various stages by various people. We've also had with Tay on a podcast last week just telling me I look like Quasimodo. God knows what he's going on about and what that's got to do with the fight, but okay, I look like Quasimodo, my wife's very unfortunate. And I think Josh will be a little bit upset because people telling me he looks like me. But I don't know why Tay's got this particular grievance with me. Maybe it's because I say the truth, I don't know. But the bottom line is we've had that. I've had it told to me so many times. I've questioned Gleaton, who represents him. He's telling me he's going to fight, but I'm being told yesterday he's definitely not fighting. He's going to pull out with an injury because he never wanted to fight in the first place. My view, despite the fact he insults me, I've had this before. I'm used to him insulting me.
Yeah, I know.
Mickey Elliott, who I get on a fight with, he's insulted me on personally, hasn't he, in the past? And I actually don't mind Mickey Elliott, but I have no problem with that because I think Tay's a great fighter and he's a proper warrior. I do not believe he's going to pull out of this fight, because if he pulls out of this fight, that would show, in my opinion, that would be that all of these people that have been saying that for 6 weeks before knew he was going to do it, and it would. And I have him, Taylor Jones, in the highest regard as a fighting man, and if he pulled out now, that respect for him as a fighting man would fall through the floor. And I think most people in boxing, the respect for him would fall through the floor because he's had, this has been, so many people have been saying this, but I honestly think Taylor Jones will turn up on the 1st of December and will put on a cracking performance and give Linus a really good fight, and I'm looking forward to a fight between 2 great warriors.
Excellent. Questions from my friend Riku. I've got 3, so we'll fire through them. How do fighters fund their training camps if they have a long layoff, and what's the manager's financial input into the process?
Well, this depends on whether you're a TV fighter or a non-TV fighter. Yeah. If you're a non-TV fighter, you have to get a job. Yeah. Or you have a sponsor that does it. The manager isn't going to fund a training camp. Well, from my point of view, I don't take anything off fighters, so they earn a lot of money anyway. So I'm not going to fund something I'm not reaping any financial benefit from. It's not about the finance. But I believe that a fighter should not be full-time until they're at a certain level.
Yeah. What is that level? Or is it dependent on...
Depends on the purses you're getting. I think you've got to be British title level before you actually before you go, unless you've got sponsors, before you go full time. If you actually get, let's say for example somebody fights twice a year, and they earn, well, let's just plug some figures, depends on, I've heard different figures, but let's say they earn 50 grand, 60 grand for 2 fights. That's not enough, because you've got to take your manager's fee, your trainer's fee, all your travelling time, all your expenses. You're not really tax. You're not really earning that much, so you have to be earning a lot more than that. So, and I think fighters have to understand, I always try and tell them, nobody owes you anything. So when you are just an up-and-coming fighter, if you've got to do a training camp, you work in the day, you train at night, you have to earn the right to get that to be full-time.
So is it that you think there's a risk they lose the hunger?
What, by going full-time? No, I think they put themselves under financial stresses, and then they will take fights for money rather than take fights for career development. And I could go through lots of fighters and trainers that do this, in my opinion, the wrong way, but I'm not going to do that. But I think that's how... Rendell Munro was still a big man when he was world champion.
He was, when he went out to Japan as well.
He was still a big man.
He's wearing his jacket.
Yeah, but I think too many fighters, when they go full-time, they get in there, they're chasing money, they've probably got debt, they get offered a fight for 8 grand, and they get the living granny smashed out of them, but they take the fight because they need the money to pay everybody.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Second question. This is an interesting one, actually. There's a very specific instance that he's cited within this. How much input does a manager have in a fighter's preparation in the build-up to a fight? E.g., David Hay discussing the involvement in the Chisora camp. I don't know if you saw that interview. But from my view, from watching it, it very much came over like Hay had put himself in as, like, I don't know, maybe a personal trainer or motivator or something to Derek. Clearly there's got to have been a conversation between Don Charles, Derek Chisel and David Hay as to who was doing what, but he was talking about making sure Derek does X number of rounds on the bag, X number of sprints, blah blah blah, which is the kind of stuff I've never heard a manager say before about a fighter.
No, but that's not the manager's job. The manager's job is to manage the fighter, make sure he gets the right sparring partners, make sure he gets the right amount of money, make sure there's no skullduggery going on with the money, make sure that the money filters down to the fighter. That's the manager's job, and to oversee any personal problems, any things that they need to help to sort out with. The training, well, I'm not friends with Don Charles, but if you need to tell Derek that how to train, then you're really undermining Don Charles as a trainer, in my opinion, because that's his role, it's his job.
I mean, also it seems strange.
But I understand the motivator bit.
Yeah.
I get that from a motivated perspective, I get it, but how many rounds on a bag, who to spar, when to spar?
Yeah, I'm not saying that David did dictate those things, right, but it certainly came over as he was keeping a very watchful eye on what Derek is doing in the gym.
Yeah, but what you've got to remember is when you watch this sort of stuff,
the bluster.
Yeah. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's real.
That's very true.
And it's about, everybody's in it for the money, and it's about who's going to generate what money from where. And I would believe, and I don't know, because I don't speak to Don Charles about it, but I would believe that more of that is about David lending his presence to sell the fight, and sell that Derek Chisel is a different animal than he's ever been in his life, and all the blood. We had this with the two belly fights, right? So David Hay was better, faster, stronger than ever. Derek Chisel was better, faster, stronger than ever.
He was a fixed man.
Yeah, a fixed man and better than ever. So we've had all that before. So I don't believe he's really having an input into his training, but I do believe he's probably having an input into his diet, because Don Charles wouldn't have done his diet, and so I think he's probably having an input in his diet and his patterns outside the ring, and that would be a big help.
Yeah, and it's not to doubt that David Hay can add something, because aside, put the injuries to one side, the physical specimen of David Hay was always incredible. For sure. But then, I think there's no doubt that David Hay could have done that by being in a different role, perhaps. Yeah. That's not the managerial role. Final question from Riku, and it follows on from something we were discussing the other week, actually, around press and things like that. What's the best way for boxing media to build relationships with promoters, and who does this well at the moment? Well, the best way to build relationships with promoters is to get involved with the boxers, write articles about them, feature them, and do some stuff with them. We've had lots of media requests this week from somebody that's never covered a boxer of ours in their lifetime, so we turned them down, right? Because it's important. I mean, when you started off, you wrote about different small hall fighters, didn't you? And that's what. So you went out there, you thought, I'm not doing the bigger fighters, I'm doing the small. Well, I always worked on the ethos that A, small hall fighters needed some form of promotion that they don't necessarily get elsewhere, and are probably more appreciative of it. And B, what am I ever going to ask Anthony Joshua or Carl Froch that they've never been asked in an interview before? Zero. Whereas these ads, there are some interesting stories to unearth amongst them. Well, Sam O'Reilly, he gets people on his Fight Talk podcast. He's had Linus on, he's had Taylor Jones on, he gets various fights. Richie Gray's helped out. Sam Gilly. So he's doing a great job. So if you wanted me to pick one out, it would be Sam O'Reilly at Fight Talk. Yeah, I think it's always... you, of course. Don't include me, I'll piss off right to But there's an interesting balance, isn't there? Because somebody who, I'm not going to say involved, but I'd rather throw Brooke Stretfield into that as well. Yeah, fantastic. She does a great job. There's a balance of, if you want to be involved in it, some people want to be involved in it for a free ticket and to say they were ringside. That's just a fact, and I know that for a fact because I'm involved in some of these circles of people. I'm not saying I'm a big deal or shit like that. I'm just saying that I know how it works, in that you have some people that just want to get the free ringside, and some of those people will then have the ambition they want the free ringside to the matchroom shows. Correct. And so all they'll do is sit on Twitter or whatever and say, it's a fantastic show this week out in Kansas from Eddie Hearn. When it's not, it's a sack of shit. Like, being honest, it's a terrible show. Like Miller versus Dinu and Hannah Rankin versus Clarissa Shields. as much as I like Hannah, that show is pretty terrible, but you'll have certain media outlets that will sit and say how great it is because it boosts their opportunity to get the ringside seats to Matchroom. I don't have any intention. If I want to go to a Matchroom show, then I accept I'm going to go and buy a ticket for it, or I'm going to watch it at home. With your ones, I'll go there because I can do something for the fighters, because you're not going to get... And it's always nice when I get a message from a fighter saying, "Oh, cheers for the write."
Yeah, they do. I've seen that.
Because Boxing News will turn up, but they'll write like one page about 15 fights, whereas I'll try and sit and write a full review of every fight. And it's nice, you know. I'm not saying the boxers should do it or anything like that. It's just.
I mean, Sam does his thing, but Brooke does it. With the
KO London.
Yeah, she does loads. So you'd probably say that overall she does more because Sam does his blogs, but I think they're both trying their best to do different things. But if you're talking about it in writing, then Brooke does a great job and Sam does a good job with his podcast. He highlights the small hall boxers, and I think that's important. But there's too many there. You think they want a press accreditation. You think, who the hell are you? What have you ever done for any of the boxers?
Yeah. Yeah, but again, it comes down to integrity, really, and do people speak what they think? Not always.
But we'll have that with our shows. When I'm at a show sometimes, and it's been a bad show, and we've had bad ones, and people come up to me and they go, "Oh, it was a great show," and I just turn to them, "You heard me? Don't talk shit, it was rubbish."
You come up to me sometimes and go, "That was bad, that was..."
Yeah, because you've got to be real. But I don't want people telling me it's good, because that's just annoying.
Yeah.
Because that shows they're not genuine.
Yeah.
So I would rather somebody come and say, "Steve, I thought that was really rubbish. One fight good, the rest of it terrible." It doesn't happen that often, right? But you know what's a good show and what's not a good show.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Bloodsport Inc. Could you ask Steve if there's been any interest from UK broadcasters to regularly, in capitals, Goodwin cards? If yes, then can we expect to see his stable fight live on telly? If no, ask him why he thinks that may be and what can be done to change it.
Well, the answer is no. And I'm not David Hay, Ricky Hatton, Barry McGuigan. The TV broadcasters look for the name that's going to push, that they believe is able to push out, that's got a bigger, higher resonate, and they will push out. Whereas I haven't got that. And despite the fact we could run these TV broadcasts better than, I believe, better than everybody else, and we could get the fights, probably better fights than everybody else, until the broadcasters get that that's what's needed, a proper product, then we're going to have this recycling of what goes on at the moment.
Yeah, and I always think what you need to be able to run decent TV product is a good administration resource and experience of doing it, and then the fighters. And
you can, but there's also lots of fighters you can bring in.
Yeah.
So you've got the TV resource, you can get promotional deals and 2 or 3 fights.
So at the moment you've got a strong enough stable that could support an undercard to a TV show, but you haven't necessarily got the names and the talent on the top end of it. Outside of maybe a Frank Buglioni, but he's obviously with Matchroom. Well, I say he fights on Matchroom cards.
He does, but on the other hand, if we had a TV show and there was more money in it for him there, he's free to go where he wants. But at the moment, that's where the best fight for him was on that show.
So you look at the Cyclone cards for it, there's a good comparison, I guess. Outside of Josh Taylor, there isn't anybody with
then Martin Piccoli against whatever it is.
Martin Hunter.
And it was okay, but we could run. I believe we could run better cards than that.
Yeah. Jamie Spade. How you doing, Jamie?
I spoke to him today.
Did you? Yeah. You speak to him every day, didn't you? Even when he's on the toilet most days.
Yeah.
Jamie, ask Big Steve. Sorry, hashtag ask Big Steve. He's starting his own trend.
Is that big because I'm tall or big because I'm fat?
I'm trying to lose. You'll have to ask Jamie. What's his favourite part of Christmas Day? This does follow with a hashtag early bird gets a worm. Is it 1, the dinner, 2, the drinking, 3, the presents, or 4, the sleep on the sofa late afternoon with a full stomach?
Number 5, the text or phone call from Jamie Spade. Because that always comes on Christmas Day.
Does it?
Well, New Year's Day is brilliant. He's a great Jamie. I always speak to him. But no, I don't drink on Christmas Day. Sorry, coughing. But yeah, I don't drink Christmas Day. But yeah, so it's a dinner. I find Christmas Day's okay, but it's not.
It's hard work.
When you've got young kids, it's great because they'll do the presents. When the kids are older now, it's a bit different.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of the family over this year. With 4 young kids and then mother-in-law, father-in-law and brother-in-law and all sorts coming in, so wish me luck.
Yeah.
I'll see you in about March. 76ers London on Twitter. It's a new one. Welcome. What's happened to Dan Keenan?
Well, he's due to fight this month. He pulled off injured, so he'll be put back to March. He's pulled off quite a bit this year.
Yeah. Is that... how can I word this being respectful enough? Because he lost that fight against
Wembley.
Yeah, where he was expected to win, but he lost. Is it that there's mental damage that needs to be overcome? Is it that he wants to get himself, correct everything that went wrong last time?
He has won. He's had a win since he has come back and won. It's a very difficult point when they get to this level as a professional boxer. When you get into I think we've covered this before, the 5, 6, 7s.
Past debut, but not quite title.
That's the difficult area.
Purgatory area.
Because you're not fighting for anything, but it's very hard work, and the opponents step up in class.
Yeah.
And you're pushing your body even harder in the gym. So things can go wrong in the gym.
And he's only a young man as well.
Very young. But I think at the end of the day, if his body's not taking the strain of the training, then he should maybe take some time off.
Yeah. Okay. He's a good talent, Dan as well.
But he needs time.
He needs time, and he needs to develop. Personally, I think he needs to develop the strength and work on that. But it's he's got plenty of time.
He can be a champion.
UK Boxing 1. I had a good chat with UK Boxing 1 on Twitter this afternoon. It was quite a constructive one, which you don't often get on Twitter. So it's nice. What was it like dealing with Chisora? And are you disappointed to end your agreement? I think we touched on that the other week. But just what was it like? I always remember the story you told me about going out for dinner with the wife.
Yeah. The one. There's so many stories now. Was that the one when
the table went?
The table went.
Yeah.
Shall I tell that again?
Yeah, go for it, because I'm not sure.
This is my favourite Chisora story. So I was working really hard. I was working 7 days a week. And when you're working as hard as I do, because remember I'm a financial advisor as well as so I have a lot of responsibilities. And it was coming up to Christmas, and I said, I will take 1 day off you.
I already know the punchline.
And it was the Thursday, wasn't it, before the Chisora fight?
It was Chisora White, wasn't it?
Chisora White. And I was going up there, I planned to go up there on the Friday for the weigh-in early morning. So it's right, the Thursday, that's your day. So we're planning this day for about 6 weeks, and this was going to be our day.
We're talking shopping,
lunch, dinner, theatre, everything.
The works.
So all sorted out. Then I'm sitting in the office upstairs on Wednesday doing some paperwork that I had to do, and you hear Chisora's phone the table. And I just thought, fuck. This isn't going to go well.
Yeah.
I then get a phone call from the board. There's a hearing tomorrow. Thursday in Manchester. You've got to get up. So I trundled up. So I have to go home, negotiate a potential divorce.
Which one's going to cost you more?
What's going to cost me more? Do I binge Chisora today? Do I try and sweet to life? But my wife, she's been very good. She's a very good woman. She puts up with a lot of my...
very tolerant.
She's very tolerant, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's a really good woman, and like a lot of women wouldn't. I'm a good man, but to tolerate my lifestyle in terms of what I have to do, she's very tolerant. So she said to me, "No, just go. You've got to do it. You've got to do it." So we went up to this hearing. Blah blah blah. It nearly went off in the hearing again because Chisora's got freaked out in the middle of the hearing. We've come out of the hearing and we're sitting in the thing, and I said to Derek, do you know what you've done to me? I said, I was supposed to go with my wife today. I've now had to come up here because you've done that. I said, blah, 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 blah. And he looked at me in the eyes and he said to me, that's what happens when you deal with the insane. That would be, and that's what it's like.
And that sums up, like, because not every day would have been like that, but...
No, so listen, he's not always that nutty, but he's a very, very talented boxer, very complex character, but at the end of the day, it is what it was. I learned a lot I learned a lot when I was with him. Whether or not this has been the best move for him, time will tell.
Yeah,
time will tell, and we'll probably be able to and I'd rather discuss it in more detail in about 12 months' time.
Yeah,
because I do wish him the best. Genuinely wish him the best. But I think that if I went into more detail, maybe somebody would take it the wrong way and think I'm sour about anything, and I'm not. But I think sometime in the future it'll be something that I will discuss in more detail.
Yeah, it's to be reflected upon rather than...
Yeah, but I wish him the best.
Reacted to the best. Final one again from UK Boxing 1 on Twitter. For Frank Buglioni, could we see the Burton rematch and maybe Shinkwin versus the Ball versus Richards winner? Well, you say Shinkwin, could be McIntyre.
Exactly, that's no gimme. That's a 5.5. I don't see why Eddie Hearn would put Jake Ball in with Miles Shinkwin for the English title, possibly.
Well, they've already fought, haven't they?
They've already fought, and Jake Ball he's not the right. He's got the wrong style for Miles Shinkwin.
I think
we wouldn't do that.
At the time, you'd said if they fought 10 times, Jake Ball probably wins 9.5 of them
because he's just got the right style for fights. So I think if it's Craig Richards, it's different. But I think if whoever wins that English title, Joel or Miles, they're going to be looking at above.
And also they'll have a target on their head. Like, as much as they may hold it, and as you say, look above, there's going to be people wanting them.
Yeah. So I think whoever wins will sit down and work out. What I do know for sure, the loser's got nowhere to go. The loser, Miles and Joel, are at that level now where the loser probably wouldn't want to continue.
What do you make of that in terms of, because they're both young enough men that they could
30 something, 30 or 30.
Yeah. Fighters like that dropping back down to Southern Area level.
It's English.
Yeah, I know, but the loser.
Yeah, the loser.
So the loser, would they feel comfortable dropping back down to that, or do they feel like they belong?
But then at the end of the day, the problem is they fought. I mean, obviously Miles has been in with Burton. Joel's already had the English title. If you fight down to Southern Area level on non-TV, they've got to go through the ticket system again, selling tickets. They probably won't have the will to do it if they lose this, because they'll probably say, if I haven't beaten the other one, that's probably where I am now. And I would imagine, I mean, I support whatever decision they do, but I would imagine that the loser would probably say, "I've had a good career. I've been a champion," because they're both champions.
Yeah,
I've been a champion, and that's good enough for me.
Yeah, I thought Miles just had a career now where he fought for titles or fought on Sky. That's what he does now, isn't it?
He's won the Southern Area, hasn't he? And
what's his last 4 fights or whatever have been like Southern Area, English.
I've reinvented him now, and how the hell we've got so many titles.
WBA International.
Well, I've done everything. As a manager, I feel I've done a brilliant job for him. And Miles says the same thing.
He's a big advocate, isn't he?
Yeah, and Joel again. I think we've done everything we can for Joel since I've looked after him. But really, it's the right fight for both.
Yeah, and Miles recommended my TV service to me as well, so thank you, Miles. It works really well. It's a good man. Right, that's all the questions run through. This time next week, we'll be looking back upon a weekend of Commonwealth title fights, English title fights. This time next week, you could have a new Commonwealth champion, which you will have one that you've never had before, and could have a new English champion.
And then we've got Frank Buglioni next weekend to look forward to.
A WBA International, is it?
So it's all going well at Goodwin HQ, and we have got people think we're so recent. We are working on new signings at the moment that are potentially going through. But what we are doing now, we're not announcing new signings until we get down the line, because what's happened, believe it or not, if you get a new signing, you announce it, someone tries to poach them. Yeah. Before we go through the full process.
I believe it.
It's unbelievable. I see some stories about what people do. So you sign a guy, do all the work, get everything sorted.
All the medicals, all the
do everything.
scans.
And then because there's a certain time scale, people are alerted, and then they try and nick them. And they promise just total nonsense to them, but they believe it.
The beautiful ethics of boxing.
So therefore, what we don't do now is we won't announce anything until it's 100% signed, sealed, delivered. Yeah. So we are making signings, but we can't announce them all yet.
All right, excellent. So that's it for this week. Next week we'll be reflecting upon a busy weekend. Looking forward to a busier one for Goodwin Boxing. Exactly. They never stop. Right, excellent. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we shall see you next week.
Cheers.